Well, we want to know about your sister Irene because there are many of Irene's progeny who are out there. And you're the last record of Irene as a sibling. As a peer, a lot of people, of course, Irene was their mom or, their grandma.
They were so much older than me. My youngest sister was 8 years older than me, Alice. And there was my sister Grace and my brother Jim and my sister Mary. And then came Irene, and then Florence, and then my sister Alice. But I had a half sister that was killed in an automobile accident before I was born.
Right.
Then I had a brother that he only lived to be 2 years old. But anyways, Irene and Floss and Alice hung out together. And Irene was allowed to get a driver's license when she was 16.
Okay.
So every night, or every other night, or whatever night, they used to push the old man's Model A out the driveway and go joyriding. And it pissed him off to no end. And they wouldn't take any crap off anybody.
Yeah.
Those three were tough as nails.
Yeah.
And when they got married, my sister Alice and Floss and Irene that hung out together, their three husbands were motorcycle fans. They belonged to the motorcycle club, and they raced TT races and all that stuff. And they were truck drivers. Irene, her husband Carl was a truck driver, and Floss's husband was a truck driver, and Alice's husband worked in McClellan Field.
Did they all work for Carl's brother?
Huh?
Did they work for Carl's brother? Or did they work independent?
No. Carl's the only one that worked for his brother, Toby, Don Kimbrell, he was almost an independent driver,
Right.
And they both drove truck. But the thing was, Irene and Floss could both drive a truck, truck with a trailer and whatever, and they both rode motorcycles, and back in the 50s, to see a woman on riding a motorcycle was really, really unusual.
For sure.
So they were they were something else. The three of them stuck together, and they had a team. I'll tell you a story about. Gotta think of his name. Can't think of his name. I was working on a Capitol Towers apartment house, and this carpenter was working there. We used to all get together for lunch and sit around there, and he was from Elk Grove, and I can't say his name. Anyways, he's sitting across the room from me, and he looked at me and he says, "You're Bud Clifford." I says, "Yeah." He says, "You have any sisters?" I said, "Yeah, I've got 5 sisters." He says, "Irene and Flo?" This guy's name was Jack Kuntz. And Jack Kuntz was he was about 6'4", 6'4", 6'5", and big hands on him. And he says, "I'm going to tell you something. Elk Grove High School, Irene and Florence went to Elk Grove High School. The rest of them went to McClatchy. But they used their girlfriend's address so they could enroll in Elk Grove High School. But they still got the 2-story brick building there on Elk Grove. Florin Road. I don't know. Anyways, Jack Kuntz told me, he says, they were on the second, their classroom was on the second floor, you know, and it was all brick building. Anyways, he grabbed Irene's papers after class one time and booked and threw them all out the window. Then he took off running, but before he could get to the gate or right at the gate, Floss caught him. And she held on to him, and Irene come and they beat the shit out of him. And he was really a big guy. Everybody was sitting there eating lunch was just laughing like crazy. They thought this was something. And I says, yeah, they wouldn't take no shit off anybody, you know. And Jack Kuntz says there wasn't a boy in Elk Grove High School they couldn't whip. You know,
That's funny.
that's the way they were. They took no shit off anybody. Yeah.
Do you know why they went to Elk Grove?
Alice Rasmussen was a good friend of theirs, and they had the Capitol Auto Courts on Florin and Stockton Boulevard, and they wanted to go to school with her.
Okay.
So they enrolled. Their parents said that was fine. You know, they were all good friends. And Eddie Rasmussen was a good friend of mine. He was 2 years older than me. But Eddie, the summer I was 15, I graduated from the 8th grade. And they had sold the auto courts. They're on Stockton Boulevard, and they owned a restaurant, the Nugget Cafe in Colfax. And Mrs. Rasmussen come down. Eddie was 17, I was 15. And she talked with my mother and said it was okay if I went up and worked with Eddie and stayed up there all summer. And anyways, she took me down to the federal building, Mrs. Rasmussen did, and we got my Social Security card, and I went up there and worked with Eddie all summer. Stayed up there stacking green lumber off the mill at Iowa Hill, you know. But the Rasmussens were really good friends. You know?
Yeah. So, how did Irene and Carl meet?
You know, I'm not sure. Irene was a secretary at Mather Field. Okay, and that was all Army back then. They didn't have the Air Force; they had the Army Air Corps.
Right.
And they were married before Carl went overseas, and so Eddie was born while Carl was overseas. And
Carl's in World War II, right?
yeah, and it's World War II.
Okay.
Yeah, he was in the Solomon Islands and New Hebrides Islands, and the Philippine Islands, the Solomon Islands, and the New Hebrides Islands. And he was driving what they call the duck, was shipped ashore,
Right.
supplies, you know.
Part car, part boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said the most dangerous thing was the Japanese pilots would sometimes commit suicide, crash into the boat, you know, stuff. So, but Floss's husband, Don Kimbrell, he joined the Coast Guard, and he thought he'd be up and down the coast. And this was before they met, and he was on an LCM landing craft, putting the Marines on the beachheads. and he was blown out of the craft at Iwo Jima.
He was in the Coast Guard and he was in Iwo Jima?
Yeah, they.
Okay.
He just thought he'd be up and down, but they put him in the Navy and so he was. They had a steering wheel deal, and a metal plate around there, and a Japanese mortar hit the plate and blew him out into the water, and he had metal on both legs. They took him to the hospital ship, and he thought he had the $1 million wound. He thought they'd take him to Hawaii. Well, they patched him up and put him back on another LCM and said, get the Marines up on the beachhead. And my sister Alice, she was the youngest one. She was 8 years older than me. And she had a boyfriend, I think his name was Don Castle, if I recall it right. And he was a Navy, and he was a medic, and he was in the first crew that tried to put the flag up on Iwo Jima, and he was killed on Iwo Jima. So my sister's boyfriend, Alice's boyfriend. And then Manuel, I've told you about Manuel. Yeah. But Irene was the oldest of the three that hung together all the time, And they told my father one time if he ever laid a hand on one of the girls, they would tie him up in the bed sheets and beat him to death with a cast iron skillet.
All three of them presented this to your father and said, don't mess with us?
Yep.
Wow.
There was something else, I'll tell you.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Don't take any crap.
Yeah, the old man was, the only time I can remember him home, I've told you about that.
Yeah. So when you got back from Korea, did you see your sisters much?
Yeah. Irene held a party, a family get together, and I was to get together and to welcome me home, I guess. I don't know. I got home from Korea my last time 10 days before my 21st birthday. And my sisters were all in a group laughing, So I went up to ask them, I says, well, what are you guys laughing about? And Irene stepped up to me and she said, my brother-in-laws were all betting I wouldn't live to be 21. And they were laughing about that. They thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I was home 10 days for my 21st birthday. My second hitch in Korea. Oh well.
So anything else about your sister Irene?
She, well, like I said, she could drive truck. She got a job driving a school bus.
Right.
She drove the school bus for I don't know how many years. Then she became a cook at the school and worked in the cafeteria, And she worked for the state, all the time, driving bus and cooking at the school and everything. And it's a good thing she did because Carl had no medical insurance or anything working for his brother Toby. He had nothing. So Irene's insurance took care of Carl's medical problems all the way till he passed away. But she was really solid.
Yeah.
And then Floss was the same way. She could drive truck. She drove a school bus for a while. And then in West Sacramento, a little town there, she worked in the cafeteria too, like Irene did. So they both made good wages. And Irene took the kids to swimming lessons all the time.
Yeah.
Eddie was a fantastic swimmer, and the girls too, and they belonged to, can't remember the name of the club, swimming club, and they used to compete all the time. Now when Eddie got back from his service, why, he enrolled in Sacramento City College, and he was on the water polo team. And Carl and I used to go and watch him, play.
Wow.
Ed's real good athlete, really good swimmer.
Yeah.
He was good at everything, I think.
So tell me about you and Carl used to go hunting. Did you go bow hunting together?
Yeah. Carl's brother Kenny was killed in a plane accident in 1959, and Carl inherited a wooden longbow and a quiver of wood arrows from his brothers. Anyways, that's what got us started. And we wound up with I bought a bow so I could hunt with Carl, and we started hunting rabbits and stuff, and it was a lot of fun. And Joey Lyons, one of Carl's nephews, and Herb Turner, that married one of my nieces' wife. We used to hunt rabbits all the time, but the rabbits might as well have been armor plated because we couldn't hit them anyways. We had a hell of a time, and we got a buddy, Mark Otani, and got him into the bows and started rabbit hunting with us and stuff. So we went down to the old fairgrounds one time, and El Dorado Hills Bowmen were putting on a shooting exhibition to see. So we seen that, and I told him, we got to go get Carl and bring him down here. And so we did. We got Carl and brought him down to the fairgrounds, watched the El Dorado Hills shooting exhibition and stuff. So we got a form so we could apply for membership to El Dorado Hills Bowmen. So Carl and I filled out the form and give them the forms and stuff, and that was in the fall. So at the end of the year, we were called in to the club meeting. I told Carl we should join the club because these guys knew all kinds of crap we didn't know about the bow and arrow. We could learn just by being around them,
Right.
So we they called us in and to the club meeting, and they brought us into the club meeting and introduced us to everybody, and they want to know if anybody knew us, nobody did. So the Sergeant at Arms took us out in the hallway and had us stand out there. So they had to be voted in.
Right.
So anyways, they asked questions about anybody who knew us or knew anything about us or anything that was bad about us or anything. And so we were come in and they told us we could pay our dues and then we'd be members, be there for the membership,
Right.
meetings and stuff. So we started shooting with the El Dorado Hills Bowmen, and it was amazing all the things we learned, Dot and I lived in a trailer park at the time, and I put the tin shed up, bought it and put it there beside the trailer, and I could put couple of bales there, and I could shoot beside the trailer. And I got to where I would shoot at least an hour every night, you know. And then they had a bow and arrow magazine and come out, so I enrolled in that. And every month they put out a magazine, and it had an article about the champion archer and all that stuff, and it told what equipment he was shooting and how I was setting it up and all this.
Right.
So I would take that information and go out and shoot every night, you know. And the stuff that worked for me, I kept it, and it didn't, I just tossed it aside. Anyways, we started shooting in competition and stuff. And believe it or not, we were killing a lot of rabbits with the bow and arrow. And then we started deer hunting with the bow and arrow, you know. And Carl, he could take a week off every year during bow season and deer season, and he'd go up, you know, and be there. And the only time I could go was on the weekends because I had to work all the time, you know. But Carl killed, I think, 16 bucks with the bow and arrow.
Wow.
And I think I killed 14 bucks with the bow and arrow. we spent a lot of years bow hunting. And, first buck I killed was at Ridgewood Ranch. We leased, got a lease on the property the club did, and it cost us so much to hunt Ridgewood Ranch, and that's where that famous racing horse was buried. Can't remember the name of it. Anyways, I killed my first buck there. It was a fork of the horn.
And what year was that?
What year was that? I don't know. The kids were
Teeny tiny?
just little kids, you know. And I had a camp trailer, and we used to go up there to hunt with the camp trailer, and we stayed at a trailer park there, was on the ranch, and they had a swimming pool and all that, so we could swim and all that other stuff, and we'd go out and hunt every morning, every evening, you know. And I got my first buck there with the bow and arrow, and that was a huge accomplishment, you know, because back then we didn't use bow sights. The bows were primitive, you know. And we shot all through the competition, all through the years, you know. And I think we joined the archery club in 1963. And we progressed by learning from all these guys being around the shooters, and we started shooting the tournaments and stuff. And the first trophy I won was in 1965. That's that trophy right there, the Silver Dollar Open, Sacramento Archer Silver Dollar Open. Then that fall, at the club championship tournament, we shot Carl and Joey Lyons and Herb Turner, and I shot in a group. And I was a Class B shooter. I hadn't shot a high enough score to be an A shooter, you know. And then We shot in the morning and we had 28 targets. We had 14 field targets, 14 hunter targets, and then they would take them down at lunchtime and put up all animal targets.
Yeah.
So we shoot 28 targets, animal targets. But anyways,
Was the animal targets 3D?
huh?
Were the animal targets 3D targets?
No, they were just paper targets
Okay.
on bales. But anyways, we shot the first half in the morning and we're having lunch, and I shot a 503 score on the field targets and stuff. So, anyways, the president of the archery club come up, and we were sitting down having lunch, and he come up and sat down with us, and he told me that 503 score was the first time anybody had ever shot a 503 on the El Dorado Hills range. So he says, asked me if I'd like to be put into A class and shoot for the championship. And I turned to Carl and they said, go, you know, so I went. So I had to go shoot with these other guys. There was 4 of us. And the one guy, Bill Graves, a week before, he'd won the California Field Archery Championship. So, and I didn't know anything about it, but so they put me up to shoot first. They were going to psych me out. And the first target was a 40-yard target, pheasant target. And they had the kill and then the animal. They didn't have the spot that counted for anything then. And I shot and put my arrow right in the middle of the kill. It was 40 yards. And if you missed on the first target, on targets back then, if you missed with the first arrow, then you got to move up to shoot the second arrow.
Okay.
But it didn't count for as much as the first arrow.
All right.
But as soon as you hit the animal, that was it. So I shot my first arrow into the center of the pheasant target at 40 yards, and then we won it through the first 14 targets, and I shot them perfect. And Bill Graves was really upset by then because he was the state field champion, and he missed the target the first time on the pheasant target, and then he shot pretty good, but I shot perfect. And then on the last 14 animal targets, I missed a couple of shots, but at the end of the day, I was way ahead of him, so I won the club championship. You know, of course, I didn't know what a big deal it was, you know, but that was the first time I won the club championship. I don't know how many times I won it, but we shot in all the tournaments. Carl and I did, you know, and then an archer named Kenny Coco, he shot in what they called the bow hunter class. It was 5 fixed pins, and they were fixed pins, and you could shift to the yardage, you know, and stuff. Anyways, and Carl and I were shooting with a sliding sight, but Kenny Coco wanted me to shoot in the world bow hunter championship at Fresno. It was a team deal. He needed a team partner, so I told him I hunted with the 5X pins, but I started practicing with it, and we went down to Fresno, and we shot in the state field archery. We shot in that big tournament in Fresno as partners, and We did really good. We didn't place the first time. But we shot, Kenny and I shot in the World Field Archery Championship 5 times. And we placed 3 times. But there was shooters from all over the place. The biggest archery tournament I ever shot in was in Las Vegas in 2003. There were, I think there were something like 3,000 shooters from all over the world. And shot in the money division, but everything was screwed up. We got there and we went to check in for our rooms in Las Vegas, and they had a practice area, and I wanted to check into the practice area first before I went to the rooms, and Dot said no. So we went and checked in at our rooms, and then I come back to check into the practice area, and it was closed. So the next day, we went out, I think we went out to breakfast the next day. Got back just in time. I didn't get a chance to warm up at all. I had to step right out and shoot. But the second day, Chris started having heart problems. So I had to take Dot and Chris, my niece was with us too. I'd take Dot and Chris down to the airport and get them on a plane and fly them home. So did that, and I got back just in time to, couldn't warm up again. I had to walk right out and shoot. And on the third day for some reason, I can't remember, I didn't get to warm up either. I had to walk right out and shoot. But I missed placing in the money division by 1 point.
Wow.
But the biggest tournament I ever shot in that I placed was in the 2003 3D National Championships at Reading. They had something like it was over 1,000 shooters.
Yeah.
And we shot for 2 days. And I was 68, and I could have shot in the over 65 division, but the toughest one to shoot in was the 50-year-old division with bow hunter freestyle. And I signed up for that. So after 2 days of shooting, it was raining when we finished, and we just packed up and didn't wait for scores or anything, because a lot of them weren't done shooting on account of the rain and stuff. And we come home, and on the last target I shot was a pheasant target, and the spot was right up within a 1/4 inch of the 40 yards, and I was just 1/8 of an inch off. And if it had hit the animal with that target, I would have won the championship. After a week, I got a package in the mail. I couldn't figure out what the hell it was. It was a trophy. I took 3rd place in that championship.
So what about Dottie shooting with you?
Dot shot for 10 years. When she had rheumatic fever the second time, why? That was the end of the shooting.
Yeah.
You know, she wouldn't go back after healing up. But she won about 30 trophies.
Wow.
In that 10 years. She was good. We're shooting at Kings Mountain Bowman out right south of San Francisco. And the group we were shooting with us, one of the guys was the California State Field Champion. And this Kings Mountain Bowman, it was in the hills. And we were shooting this one target across this gorge. And the wind was coming off the right, coming down through there. And it was a 60-yard target, and animal target. And so I figured out where to aim, and I shot and watched my arrow catch the wind and drift, and I hit the animal. But I figured out just where Dot needed to aim, and they had a spot in the center of the kill, and she shot, and that arrow caught the wind and drifted, come right down into that spot. And everybody just, so I says, aim to the same spot, follow through. She shot it, that arrow went up, caught in the wind, come right down, right next to the other one, the spot. And the guy shooting there with us was the state field champion. And he says, I'm going to tell you something. He says, I've been shooting a long time. He says, those are two of the best shots I ever saw.
Wow.
But she did whatever I told her. I'd shoot first, and if there was anything, I'd tell her where to aim and concentrate. She was a good shooter. She had a lot of fun.
That's good.
Won a lot of trophies. Yeah. We had a lot of fun.
Good.
But Chris couldn't shoot the bow and arrow because he couldn't lock his elbows. So she had an eye problem, and Kelly had an eye problem. So Dot and I were the only ones who could shoot. So we had a lot of fun.